Well, gentlemen, the story I'm about ready to tell you is 100% true. All of it. I am home. Believe it or not, I am home. I made it home about 6 days, 7 days ago. And I don't know, if you guys watched the video that I shot for DeLuna and Youngblood for the Victoria break this year, that was the beginning of me getting sick, and that was 14 days ago now. It's the first day I felt like coming out here. I still haven't even unpacked. I came home, I unloaded my trailer, and went in the house. I went to sleep and got up next morning and did not want to move. And I honestly haven't wanted to move for like 6 days. I laid there all last week, just sick. Head's congested, chest congested. Lost my sense of smell, lost my sense of taste. The two kind of go hand in hand, Oh, it's been a long road trip. Not as long as the one that preceded this one, but this one took a lot more time, and I spent a lot of time in Texas. I freaking love Texas. I'm glad I got to spend as much time as I did in Texas. I learned a lot of different things while I was in Texas at different people's places. Seen some really cool stuff. Man, I haven't even cleaned all my guns. I took a bunch of guns with me because I was going to stop and see my buddy Jason Jones. He's in North Dallas, which is in McKinney, and we went to an indoor private gun range that's just down the road from his house. It was absolutely epic. Kind of place where you show up and you put a palm scan or a thumb scan, and door pops open, and you go inside and you got your own private shooting range, and you kind of got your own little range butler that like sweeps up your brass and brings you targets and brings your guns in and out for you, and the kind of place where you can show up and have a really, really good meal, and when you're done shooting, you can go have a friggin', $300 scotch if you want it, kind of place. Also an HK dealer that, it was a neat setup. So went shooting there all day with him one day, and then I went and I saw my buddy Stormy in central Oklahoma. Then I had to make a mad dash across the United States to California. So I went from Boise to Phoenix, Phoenix to Texas, all over Texas. Then went up and saw my friends over in Alabama. Then went down and saw some friends of mine in Georgia. Spent a bunch of time in Georgia. A lot of time sitting waiting. But hey, what can you do? That situation is what it is. Then drove over and went to the break in New Orleans, which was awesome. I got to meet a lot of people. I got to hang out with one of my teachers and a friend. His name's Terry 55. I'm pretty sure most of you guys know who he is. He's a legend in his own right. Spent some time hanging out with my friend John DeLuna. Got to see a bunch of people, meet a bunch of people, shook a lot of hands, and got very, very sick. I don't blame the break. I jokingly have blamed Reject, because he was wheezing and coughing and carrying on, but it's not his fault. The reason I'm showing you all of this, everybody, is this is just like half of what's here. I have even more of this, and then I have probably double this in parts that I have to keep. Everywhere I went, everybody tried to slip me an amplifier. Here, man, take this with you. Or, dude, do you want to take this with you and work on it? And I'm like, I ain't got no room. This is the end of 2023's work pile, and 2024, I've only taken on like 20-something repairs for this year. And I've still got like 20 or 30 repairs I need to do for this year. So what I need to do is I need to put my head down, and I need to get to work. Later today, there is, well, that's the base plate for a dual 20s that we ended up, the blower thing. It's a base plate for a set of dual 20s things that we got going on, and so much stuff. It's primarily just mostly cardboard, but this entire box is full of Texas Stars. This is my OG 24 pill. It's now on its 4th owner, and finally had something fail in it, so I got to go through it. This is also full of Texas Star amplifiers. This is some more amps that I picked up on the road, some more amps I picked up on the road, some more amps I picked up on the road. Sitting directly in front of us here that you guys can't see, down here out of frame, is even more amplifiers I picked up on the road that I need to go through and get ready to sell. I just got a lot of projects going on. A powder coater guy called me. We're getting ready to start on some of the most epically powder coated cabinets I've ever seen in my life. They look wonderful. Some really cool builds, a huge power supply, and a whole bunch of amps for one guy. The other thing that happened on this trip is I finally bought my unicorn. Since I found out this thing existed, have been hunting for a Henry 8K for, oh boy, so many years, probably 7 or 8. And I've been looking for just the right one. Like, I don't want one that's all haggard and worn out, and some CBers had it and modified it. I want mint, right? I can build a 3000. Everybody in the world's seen me build a 3000. I wanted an all-band, go everywhere 3000 with a remote head. Well, that's the Henry 8K. So I bought the Henry 8K Ultra Classic. Guy called me, said, hey, I've got one. It's currently broken. Big surprise. I ended up buying all his spare parts. He also threw in 2 other amplifiers that I'm really cool to get ready to go through. It's a completely mint SS750 with a replacement faceplate and the remote. Mint, by the way. And the very rare, didn't even know was a real thing, Henry 1200, SS1200. Which I can only assume is like a 16 transistor amplifier, I don't know. Also with a replacement faceplate and an extra remote with it as well. The Henry comes with the remote head and then another remote head. I'll explain all that. I got to go pick that up. That's the only other trip I'm going to take this year, is I've got to go out to New Jersey, and I'm going to go see my friends Tony and everybody over there at Fat Boy, and I'm going to go see my buddy Chris at 394 Audible Technologies, my student, one of them. It's got a lot going on, but it's time for me to get my feet back on the ground and start running forward. I learned an awful lot from a lot of different people and got to see a lot of different things. This trip was incredibly expensive, though. It was almost twice what I budgeted for, and there's some things that happened on this trip that are going to make me change my company policy about how I go on trips and what I do with people when I go on trips. Money-wise, that's it. I still want to go on trips. I still want to go work on some of this big stuff, but we're going to change how we do things. It just has to be done. I was able to get 4 really, really good interviews out of this trip. I wanted to get one, but the situation just never quite came together for it. And I'm just not going to say anything more than that. It was not a bad thing. It was just things on his end never jived, and I spent 3 days sitting in Atlanta waiting, and I ran out of time. So maybe we'll get back and be able to go get the one guy I want to get. Let's see. It's just an amazing trip. Seen so many different things. I got lucky enough to be able to spend an entire day standing in a field getting sunburned redder than red. Like, I was 3 times this color red on the back of my neck. Horribly sunburned. I burned my head twice, my neck once. But standing in that field, I learned more about how to tune mobile antenna shootout stuff just by standing and listening and watching and listening. Not really asking a lot of questions, because the answers got brought up very quickly in the chain of communication that was going on the group of people I was there with. It was neat. It was just a neat experience. Very expensive, but worth it. Absolutely worth it. I wouldn't take any of it back. I'd take the going to the break and getting sick, but what I learned at the break made it worth it. Never made it down to Bourbon Street. I stayed and did radio stuff the entire time I was there, and talked with people and shook hands, and lots of pictures taken. But it's all good. But gentlemen, I have returned home. I've got all of this I got to work through, and the main reason I'm showing you all of this stuff is if I say to you I don't have any more room for anything, I physically don't have any more room for anything. this whole mess here, I've got an equal mess that's over here, plus a whole trailer full of parts. So if somebody is to give me a 2-pill today to work on, I got all this I got to go through. Then I can look at the 2-pill, right? This is not fair. That's why I've been turning down so much work here lately. And I'm not trying to be mean to anybody, but like I got one that's in here that I refuse to work on. It's buried back in here. I got to go dig out today. I've been wanting to return this amp to this guy for 2 years. And he finally called me up and says, okay, I'm ready to get it back. Okay. Well, it's buried. So I've got to move all of this stuff to get one amplifier out of here to return to the customer. That's the bane, but that is the job. So let's see. This year I'm moving out of here for sure. We're going to go and get ourselves a piece of commercial property someplace. And I'm probably going to buy a laser, and I've done a lot of thinking about it. Since I don't do a lot of new builds, I'll probably do the laser towards the end of the year. But what I am going to buy right away is a dry ice blast machine. I really want to do a CO2 blast, like a dry ice blaster. I'm really impressed. I had a friend of mine that was on this trip that had one. He was letting me dick with it when I was at his shop, and boy, I tell you, I pulled a Scotty Texas Star out of this tote and went in there with that thing. And it cleaned that heat sink like that. The faceplate around all the switches, it went inside. I was able to clean all the board. It looked like brand new just from blasting it with CO2. Took all the flux off everything. I mean, it looked minty mint. And it took about maybe 10 minutes. I was like, man, I got to get me one of these. So we're moving forward, moving on, more stuff to come. Lots of cool shit happened, and the major downside is right in the middle of this trip, my dog just tragically died. So my German Shepherd of 10 years. She did not suffer. It's still not real to me. All I know is I came home and my dog is gone, and there's a box with her ashes in it. So she had an aneurysm in her belly, and she bled to death in just a couple minutes. Gone. Which is, in my opinion, not a bad way to really go. You're not suffering for cancer for 2 years, you know, not bad hips, not just, doop. I'm going to miss her though. I love that dog. But it is what it is. Gentlemen, I have returned home, and I have still got to unpack everything for the workbench. So that's what I'm going to spend the rest of the day doing, is that. And then I got to downstack and reorganize all of this. But just want to say the YouTube videos are going to get turned back on. We're going to start rocking and rolling like we're... First up is I got a 48 pill I got to go through. No, not this one here. Right, not that one there. A completely different one that's back here on the shelf. I also got a 128 transistor amplifier I got to go through, and I think we're going to do HGs with that. So, sorry Stormy, you don't have the largest HG amplifier in the world anymore. Well, you do currently, but not for long. Yeah, first thing up is I got a 48 pill back here I got to dig out and go through and let the madness begin. The phone is on. Headset's on the head. If you have any questions or anything I can do to help you out, call me. The other thing is I want to make a huge thanks to my Patreon supporters. I have not been putting a lot of content on there. I've just been going and going and going and going and going. And then I've been sick. That's going to change. We're going to reverse all that. So my Patreons that have been sticking with me for this last month, thank you. You guys are awesome. And on that note, to all of you out there in YouTube land, let the madness begin. Because I am home. I'll see you, gentlemen. Click, click.